Yeah.
I wake up, flex, thumb down now,
Check.
no drip this,
Wet.
tell 'em run it up, no sleep, no
Rest.
might crash, might
Wreck.
but first I
Stretch.
tell 'em run it up. I wake up,
Flex.
thumb down now,
Check.
no drip this,
Wet.
tell 'em run it up, no sleep, no
Rest.
might crash, might
Wreck.
but first I
Stretch.
tell 'em run it up.
9 out of 10 roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turned to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. Thought I could trust you, I find out you tried to zone me. I'm number one up on that court, I'm Nick McGrady. The first one in, the last one out, can't call me lazy. Put in my hours, send the invoice and they pay me. I need 6 rings like MJ and Tom Brady.
Hey, what's up? If we haven't met before, my name is Dallas. Welcome to the channel. We make lots of different videos about different things. We review products, I don't know, make stuff. And today we're talking about my electric skateboard build called the Spruce Moose. And I'm just gonna walk you through every part of it and why I chose the components I did and what I'm trying to get out of it. First off, really the reason I built this board, the way I built it, was I wanted a board that had a good range, really good speed, was comfortable to ride, and had an awesome carve, especially on street, that it could just lay into it and be in that, you know, kind of pocket of a carve and hold it, and it wouldn't get a lot of speed wobbles. I wanted a board that was maneuverable. I didn't need anything that was small or compact to like carry into stores or anything. This is more just for going out and just cruising on a fun long ride. So the first electric skateboard I bought was the Build Kit Board Duo. And what was great about that is it's a DIY kit, so it's DIY parts, but it's all together in one kit, so you know that things are gonna work together. So this is borrowing pieces from that kit throughout it, but it's still been tweaked enough to be kind of a unique build. When you're starting to plan out an electric skateboard build, I was confused at first of like, where do you start? Do you start with the deck? Do you start with the battery? Do you start with the motors? What I really think is the best spot to start if you're building your own is to go from the wheels. Because after the wheels, that's going to dictate a lot of things like your trucks and your motor size that you need and your compatibility and all these different things that make it tricky. So I've absolutely fallen in love with riding the 6-inch AT wheels from Build Kit Boards. They're awesome. They're pneumatic tires. I think pneumatics are just, it's where it's at. It's comfortable. It's the real world where you're going to be riding over little rocks and, you know, divots in the road. You can ride so much longer because it's more comfortable. The grip is awesome. And yeah, I think there's just fewer drawbacks than there are positives for it, for sure. So after that, it's really going to come down to the deck. Now, this deck, it's 40 inches long, I believe, 41 inches long. I'll put those specs right on the screen, but it's a really comfortable deck, and I wanted a drop-down deck. And the reason I wanted a drop-down deck is because I'm using those larger tires. So with 6-inch wheels, I think using a drop-down deck is nice because it lowers your center of gravity. It gives you a lot of stability. It gives you like instant, you know, recognition of where your feet are on the board because you can feel the front and back of the deck and you get in the pocket of it. It's really nice. I like this deck a lot. It's mostly Canadian maple. It's got this cool bamboo inlay on the top, and I thought it looked so nice I decided not to paint it or anything like that. I just did a clear grip of it using Lucid Grip. I was really impressed. You spray the whole board with like an epoxy, and then you sprinkle it looks like sand, it's grit all over the deck, and then you spray it again with another layer of epoxy and it just kind of like seals and hardens in like 45 minutes or a couple hours is what I left it, or really I think I left it overnight. But yeah, it gives me perfect amount of grip. I think it's fine, especially with a drop down. So then came the key to this build. What makes it a lot different than other builds is I'm using a Waterborne surf adapter in the front connected to the front truck and a Waterborne rail adapter connected to the back truck at the very back of the board. So what it really does is it changes the board from being able to turn just based on leaning and having a pivot point that happens at the kingpin versus something that actually like swivels at the front, and the wheels and stay on the ground differently and actually turn like this while your board pivots. It's really cool. What I love about it is it allows you to really lay into carves even at slower speeds, and it gives you a really tight turning radius. So it's usable at slow speeds on the board because I can turn around on like a bike path or tighter areas almost inside of one parking spot. I can turn around. Really sweet. The other thing that's awesome about it is that I can carve really big carves and deep carves and fun. I can go really fast too, because as you start to go fast, it actually kind of tracks the front wheel. I actually feel almost more stable with the Waterborne adapter than just regular trucks now. In some ways, not always, but I've been on the Waterborne adapter at over 30 miles an hour and it feels rock solid, super straight. Now I do recommend running that back adapter too, because that makes the back more of just a lean to turn instead of something that pivots more. So it makes the back a lot more stable and has less turn because you have so much range of motion in the front, you don't need much in the back anymore. So get the full kit. I also have the carbon fiber extension that pushes the truck out even further from the board and gives you less chance of wheel bite. Now it was tricky getting 6-inch AT wheels to work with this, and not because the wheels were hitting the board, but because the wheels, when it would turn, would actually hit the adapter itself. They're just too tall, and they start to hit the Waterborne adapter. So after a series of a whole bunch of different options using risers, I was finally able to get it where it doesn't hit. I changed my bushings to super, I think they're called hardcore bushings from Bones. And they're the really, really stiff black ones. Some sort of barrels or something would work fine too, but I used really stiff ones so that all of the turning is being done by the adapter and the turning isn't being done by the bushing itself. So a lot of information about this because it is tricky with the 6-inch wheels. Now with the cloud wheels or anything else, it was fine. 120 millimeter fine and down was fine. But once you get up to like 150 millimeter, which is 6-inch AT wheels, it was difficult to get it to not hit the adapter for me. But I absolutely love the feeling and the sensation that that adapter gives, that I was building everything else around that sensation and getting that thing to just work with these tires. And eventually, after enough little tweaking, I got it to work. One of the things that actually helped a lot was changing the trucks a little bit. Now they're caliber base plates and they're the caliber trucks that originally came with the build kit board Duo, but I changed the hangers because I wanted wider hangers. So I went to 220 millimeter from 180 millimeter, so quite a bit bigger hangers, and those are from Boardnamics. They're super awesome, they're precision like CNC, they're super beefy hangers, great. Made it a lot wider, gave me over, I think, 2 inches of width. And by putting those on, it gave me less of a chance of getting any sort of wheel bite at all. They're super cool. Speaking of Boardnamics, I also used Boardnamics motor mounts, and I used them so that I could have reverse mounts on the trucks. So that gave me the ability to put my motors outside the back, and with a drop-down deck, they weren't gonna fit on the inside. So I had to flip the motors around as well. So the motors themselves are still the same ones from the build kit board. They're 6354s, they're 3,000 watts each. So, I mean, theoretically or whatever, so you can get up to 6,000 watts, but ton of wattage in those motors. They've been super powerful and awesome. And the gearing I have going from those to the wheels is 15 to 60. So right now it's a little slower than I'd like, to be honest. It tops out at 26.5 miles an hour. Now I'm gonna be switching out the motor gear to a 20 tooth, and when I do that, the only thing I'm nervous about is losing a little bit of torque, but it's probably gonna be worth it because then my speed should be right around 35 miles an hour as my very, very top. I probably won't go that speed like ever or very rarely, but I do like to get up into the higher 20s or the really low 30s, like 31, 32, is pretty fun. So yeah, a little bit more than 26 is what I like. So I'm gonna have to change out that gear. Not a huge deal, just switch the gear and I'm good to go. Coming back from the motors into the enclosure was made by me. It's made of wood. That gives the board its name, the Spruce Moose. I decided that I wanted to use a wood enclosure because I tried fiberglass and it looked terrible. It didn't work very well. It was a super big hassle to work with, and I was like, why not just make this out of wood? My board doesn't have any flex, so there was no worry there. So I decided to just do that. So I ripped up some pieces of wood, got them to the size I wanted, got it all together. Now it's closed on both sides as well. And then I take off a cover right off the bottom with screw inserts all the way around. So I just take out those bolts and I can pop the enclosure open. Inside is a Flipski 4.2 dual VESC. That's connected to a VX1 remote. It'd be cool if it had a screen, but I don't care that much. I could see my battery voltage. I also have voltage meters on both sides of the board or of the enclosure itself, so I can see independently at any time what the voltage of the batteries are and what the percentages of the batteries are. That's connected to a 10S3P dual battery setup. So there's two 10S3P batteries. I'm running them separately completely using 2 loop keys. Those loop keys run to the top of the enclosure. So if I go out riding, I can ride until one battery is all the way depleted or down to like 15% or whatever, unplug the loop key, switch it over to the other port, plug that in, and now I'm on the second battery. It's like 2 gas tanks in a diesel truck. I can just swap when I want. It's pretty cool because it's like starting out with a brand new battery right when I plug into the second one at like halfway through the ride, let's say. My range is, I think, gonna be around the low 20s. The AT wheels definitely eat up a lot of range. If I was on street wheels on this board, I could easily be getting in the 30s with that, or in the mid 20s probably with cloud wheels. I can probably run cloud wheels still on this, and I'm thinking about it because the torque with those is really, really fun. The enclosure itself cost me like 20 bucks in wood. It wasn't a big deal, so, and building it was pretty fun. Overall, I really love this board. It's very customizable, and I guarantee it won't be my last build. But a good thing to do is to find a finishing point for a build or for a project or for whatever you're working on in life, is find a spot where you're saying, okay, it's completed, there it is. And then go on to the next one. That's the fun part. I already have a shortboard build going, and I can't wait to see kind of where I take that one next. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. I'd be happy to answer them. Like and subscribe. That'd be rad if you did. It definitely helps out the channel. And if you're a brand that wants something reviewed, I love doing it. Amy loves doing it. So drop us a comment below or reach out to us on Instagram under Dallas and Amy, and that'd be super cool.
I wake up, flex, thumb down now. Check, no drip, this. Tell 'em run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Tell 'em run it up.